It is now it's now 6:01 on December 18th, 2017. It's time to call this regularly scheduled board meeting and public hearing of the Board of Trustees of San Felipe Del Rio Consolidated Independent School District to order. Ms. Haynes, would you call roll, please?
Yes, sir. Mr. Chavita?
Here.
Mr. Mesa?
Here.
Mrs. Martinez-Lozano? Here. Mr. Overfeld?
Present.
Mrs. Gonzalez? And Mr. Smith?
Here. I said my name too, but I'm here.
And myself?
Thank you, Ms. Haynes. We have a quorum.
Yes, sir.
Let the record show that a quorum of the board members are present. This meeting has been duly called, and notice of this meeting has been posted in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act, Texas Government Code, Chapter 551. At this time, if you please stand for opening ceremonies, first with a moment of silence, and then followed with the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Again, welcome everyone. We have quite the full house tonight because of lots of recognitions and performances that are going to occur in the first part of the meeting there. So let's get straight to that. In recognitions, a fine arts recognition, Mr. Rios and the Mariachi de Medianoche.
Good evening, members of the board, Dr. Rios, administrators, teachers, parents, and students. And it's a pleasure to be here once again with our showcasing our fine arts. Just a few moments ago, prior to the start of the meeting, we had our Mariachi de Medianoche. This is about half of the group that we have here before you. And they entertained us with a few songs, some of which are Christmas songs. And we're going to be continuing now with another Christmas song. And this is going to be sung by Elaine Oyama. It's Jingle Bell Rock. We hope you enjoy it.
Jingle
And again, this is Mariachi de Medianoche. It's our varsity group from Del Rio High School. And they've been extremely busy. We've had, all of last week, we had our music department concerts. And they performed on Monday right here at this very theater. And then we also went on a Christmas tour. We went and performed at nursing homes and some of the elementary schools. So they've been very active and are going to be getting ready for a competition season here pretty quick. But also along with our music department, we've had, along with the concerts that we've been having this week, and we'll be having some the rest of this week, but we also are having a showcase from our art teachers. And we have the display out in the lobby area, in the foyer. And we invite you to go and see all the wonderful artworks from our students from elementary all the way through high school. And so we invite you to see those as part of our fine arts extravaganza these weeks of not only music, but as well as artworks that are being displayed here in the hallway. So once again, we invite you to go and see those nice works of art that our students have prepared. And we want to thank again board members and Dr. Rios' administration for the support of the fine arts and for allowing us to have those displays out there and just to be able to showcase the wonderful youth that we have here in Del Rio. Thank you so much, and we'd like to wish everyone a Merry Christmas on behalf of our Fine Arts Department. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. B, recognition of Del Rio High School science students that earned industry certificates. Roger Gonzalez.
Good evening, Mr. Overfelt, board members, and Dr. Rios. I'm here tonight to recognize our first group of healthcare students who earn industry certifications in our newest health science capstone program, phlebotomy and EKG. Also, I'm really extremely proud that we have our EMT students in support of their classmates here. Thank you very much. This semester class allows students the opportunity to earn both electrocardiograph, EKG, and phlebotomy certifications. As a certified EKG technician, these students have gained experience in the fundamentals of cardiovascular system, basic EKG procedures, interpretation of dysrhythmia, and appropriate treatments. As a certified phlebotomy technician, these students gain the knowledge and skills for performing a variety of blood and specimen collection methods with the emphasis on infection, prevention, quality assurance, and professionalism. These students receive national industry certifications administered by the National Health Career Association. These EKG and phlebotomy classes are also dual credit through Southwest Texas Junior College. The national passing rate for a certified EKG technician is 87%, and the national passing rate for a certified phlebotomy technician is 89%. I'm proud to announce that our Del Rio High School health science phlebotomy EKG students actually achieve 100%. Congratulations to these future healthcare workers. First is Kaylin Alderete, Ashley Cárdenas, Gabriel Esquivel, Fabricio Hernández, Daniel Jiménez, Harrison Lara, Janelle Mesa, Nia Peña, Fernando Rangel, Brianna Renteria, Joseph Rodriguez, Karime Rosales, and Samantha Valdez. Our EKG and phlebotomy instructor is registered nurse Donnie Espinosa. Congratulations to our phlebotomy and EKG students. Thank you very much. Do a picture. Yeah, let's do the picture first.
Congratulations. Thank you. Congratulations. 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 Thank you. Good job. Good job. Congratulations. 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 Good job. Good job. Good job. Congratulations. Very nice.
See recognition of career and technical education CTE E-Cadet students. Mr. Gonzalez.
Mr. Overfeld, members of the board, and Dr. Rios. Again, the CTE E-Cadet Championship took place December the 9th at Del Rio Middle School. All 7 elementary schools competed in the E-Cadet Tournament of Champions. The E-Cadet is a robotics program started by CTE in 2011 to address a growing interest in engineering and robotics here in Del Rio. Here to present you some additional information on the E-Cadet Tournament of Champions this year is our head robotics coaches and also our high school robotics team members.
Good evening, Dr. Rios, Mr. Overfelt, and members of the board. My name is Lauren Cardenas, and along with Bill Davis, we are the co-head coaches for the high school robotics team. Along with our assistant coaches, Linda Davis, James Millender, and Brad Bilodeau, we strive to teach our students our team's core values: dedication, teamwork, passion, and fun. Prior to this year, we had never run the E-Cadet competition. When faced with the decision on whether or not to carry on the events, we were overwhelmed at first. We had less than 3 months to put together a competition that usually takes a year to plan. Ultimately, it came down to doing what was right. Moreover, it provided our students the opportunity to share our core values with our community and pass on their passion for science, technology, engineering, and mathematics to our elementary students. I am proud to say that with the hard work and dedication of our students, coaches, parents, and mentors, this year's E-Cadet was not only a success, but definitely one of the most exciting and competitive yet. SFDR CISD's elementary students blew us away with their dedication, teamwork, passion, and fun. And these students have a very bright future ahead of them. Without further ado, I will allow Team 4063's E-Cadet Committee to give you a quick summary about these events.
Good evening. My name is Ruben Flores. I'm a sophomore on Team 4063. This year's game, Escape from Mars, was designed by us, Team 4063. The objective of this game is to attain the highest score by scoring orbs in the loading zones and driving the robot into the shuttles at the end of the match. There are 80 orbs available as scoring objects, along with 2 loading zones and a red and blue shuttle, pump, and loading zones.
My name is Brianna, and I am a senior. This practice event gave the teams opportunity to prepare for the official tournament. Each team played 5 matches for a total of over 30 practice matches played that day. Not only did they get to practice the game, they got to play on the official game field for the first time, and they also learned to interact and communicate with their fellow Alliance members. This might have been a practice event, but teamwork, strategy, and sportsmanship were on full display. At the Invitational, Buena Vista took home the Gracious Professionalism Award, and North Heights took the Safety Award.
All of the hard work that had been put into perfecting the robots all of competition season had come to play at this event. Each elementary school brought 4 teams, and each played 4 qualification matches. The top-ranked teams formed 8 alliances to compete in playoffs. After many close matches and lots of dancing, one alliance consisting of 2 teams was awarded the 2017 E-Cadet champion.
Several awards were given out at the E-Cadet competition. First off was the Engineering Design Award awarded to Lamar Elementary. Second off was the Team Spirit Award given to Dr. Fermin Calderon Elementary. Third was the Judges Award given to Ruben Chavira Elementary, as well as the Safety Award given to Buena Vista Elementary. And the Bunny Box Award awarded to Lonnie Green Elementary. And the Pitt Award given to North Heights Elementary. And lastly is the Gracious Professionalism Award. Typically this award is awarded to a school itself, but we decided to give it to someone special, Mr. Jesse Hernandez. He is a North Heights Elementary mentor, but he also helped assist with the game design itself, and he was awarded with the Gracious Professionalism this year as an individual.
And finally, the winning alliances. In second place, with the record 3-1 in qualifications and 4-2 in the playoffs, was North Heights team number 1, the Terminators. And they chose as their alliance partner Buena Vista team number 3, the Deceptibots. The coach for North Heights is Mrs. Carol Sunderland, and the coach for Buena Vista is Mrs. Joanne Buenrostro. And taking home first place, also with the record 3-1 in qualifications, but 6-1 in the playoffs, is the winning alliance, North Heights team number 2, the Expert Bots. And Calderon team number 2, Savage Squad. Again, the coach for North Heights was Mrs. Carol Sunderland, and the coach for Calderon was Miss Mona Mec Fortunato. Team 4063 congratulates these students on a wonderful season. We look forward to seeing your work in the future, and we like to thank all the students, parents, teachers, principals involved in this event, and we hope to see some of you all on our team in the high school in the future. Thank you.
Get close.
Yeah, we're gonna have a team picture. And I'd also like to point out our media interns up there, Alon and Jerry. They are filming a documentary on our robotics team, so be on the lookout for that.
Good job. Good job. Congratulations. Good job. Congratulations. Good job. Good job. Congratulations. Good job. Good job, man. Good job. Good job, man. Thank you, Coach.
And I would also like to say that the Delaware High School CTE welding class cut out the awards using their CNC plasma cutters.
Good job, brother. First place, eh? Hey, good job.
One last thing to note is that our E-Cadet competitors and coaches for a great season, we thank them, and their parents. But we do have upcoming competitions with San Felipe Memorial Middle School. They are competing. They have 3 teams coached by Nerissa Wynn, Delaware Middle School under Audrey Arriola. It's also competing. And of course, our Delaware High School robotics team, which actually has the game plan starting January 6th, and competition in Lubbock, El Paso, and San Antonio. So again, the robotics competition continues.
Thank you so very much. D, recognition of Campus Teacher of the Month for November 2017, Ms. Aide Garcia.
Good evening, Mr. Overfelt, Dr. Rios, members of the board. Our district continues to recognize our most dedicated and talented teachers, and tonight our principals get an opportunity to announce the November Teacher of the Month for each campus and share with us what sets these teachers apart. So, our Teachers of the Month.
Good evening, President Overfelt, board members, and Dr. Rios. Today, or this evening, we have Jose Esquivel as the Del Rio High School Teacher of the Month. And if you ask Mr. Esquivel what makes him stand out, he'll probably say, I want to make a positive influence in our students. But you might say, well, that should be every goal for every teacher, right? Well, let me tell you a little bit about Mr. Esquivel. As you're driving through Del Rio, you might see the outdoor classroom that his students built for Cardwell Elementary. You also might see the cedar benches that were constructed by his students at Urban Park in front of Civic Center. You might almost see that they helped Familias Unidas. There was a family in Del Rio that lost a home in a terrible fire, and his students helped rebuild that home. And for those reasons, and for many more, I want to recognize Mr. Esquivel as a Teacher of the Month for Del Rio High School.
Good evening. Blended Teacher of the Month is Mr. Rick Guajardo. Walk into his classroom and you will see students engaged and challenged, high expectations set for all his students, different strategies being used to ensure his students understand, and constant monitoring and feedback. It is evident that the teaching and learning is truly happening. With his 10 years experience, he has been a great asset to our campus. He is willing to help in any way he can and bring such positive energy. He is an excellent role model for our at-risk students and committed to building positive relationships with all of them. Mr. Guajardo recently volunteered on 2 occasions to monitor our BASA students who are earning community hours and helping our community. On October 29th, San Felipe Cemetery Cleanup, and on December the 9th, San Felipe Lions Christmas Posada for Kids. With his short time at Blended, he has already made a great impact on his students and his coworkers. His enthusiasm and dedication makes him a great teacher. And it's an honor to have Mr. Guajardo to be Blended Teacher of the Month for November. Thank you, Mr. Guajardo.
Good evening. Early College High School is very proud to showcase our Coach Schrader. Coach Schrader is new to Del Rio, but not new to education. He has been in 40 plus years, 48 years to be exact. And what's exciting about that is that his passion for kids is amazing. He not only is our dual credit physical activities, CPR, regular PE, and freshman coach, he also is an amazing mentor to our young men and women, and that is probably the best part about him. He greets every student with a smile, a handshake, a fist bump, or just a simple smile. So we are very proud to have him be part of our team at Early College High School. So congratulations, Coach.
Good evening, Dr. Rios, President Overfeld, members of the board. With me tonight is Owen Cardenas. Owen is a first-year teacher at Del Rio Freshman and a first-year teacher, period. She teaches consumer science home ec class. And she's doing a wonderful job engaging lessons. For example, she had an activity that was like the show Shark Tank, and she had students present their business ventures. She also brings guest speakers to the classroom. For example, she had Mr. Amezcua from Buffalo Wings and Rings, who shared his business experience and what he looks for in employees. But apart from that, outside of the classroom, she does a lot with her students as well. She's had her students volunteer in the Feast of Sharing, in the Wild Game Dinner, and throughout the campus as well. And then as icing on the cake, on those really cold days when the administrator is feeling ill, and we all know that administrators cannot get ill, she shows up with caldo de pollo con arroz. We got to acknowledge that. So it is an honor to present Owen Cardenas.
Good evening, board members, board president, superintendent. At Del Rio Middle School, we honor our veteran teachers as well as our new teachers. This month, our Teacher of the Month is a first-year teacher. It is a great honor to present to you Ms. Audrey Arriola. Ms. Arriola, not long ago, was a student of the San Felipe Del Rio CISD. She graduated in 2013 and was ranked 15th in her graduating class. She attended Texas A&M University in College Station. Soon after graduation, Ms. Arriola was one of the candidates present at the job fair offered by the school district early during the school year. She was interviewed and was hired as an 8th grade science teacher at Del Rio Middle School. Ms. Arriola has been able to adapt to the campus very quickly. She dedicates her time to planning meaningful lessons which trigger student interest. She sets high expectations for the students and always keeps them busy. Students start off with the bell ringer and at the end of the class with a self-reflection. It is common to see students work in cooperative groups, instruction related to real world, discussions on content presented, and fun science activities. Her dedication and her hard work are truly reflected in the success of students at the end of every 6 weeks. In addition, Ms. Arriola took over the robotics program at Del Rio Middle School. She was able to recruit and select students for the program. Currently, she works with a group of 35 students. Students are very happy to see the robotics program up and running at our campus. Ms. Arriola uses her experience as a robotics student to move forward with the challenges of the program. Soon, our Del Rio Middle School students will be competing against other schools around the region thanks to the dedication and great efforts of Ms. Arriola. Ms. Arriola definitely deserves to be a high-ranking teacher at Del Rio Middle School. Congratulations.
Good evening, President Overfelt, Dr. Rios, and the school board. Tonight, San Felipe Memorial Middle School honors Mario Cuellar. Mr. Cuellar is a great leader and advocate at San Felipe Memorial Middle School. He understands the curriculum, the importance of having high expectations, and teaching to promote critical thinking. Mr. Cuellar is at his door every morning, every passing period, and at the end of the day. He greets his students and those walking to social studies with a handshake, a high five, a smile, a fist bump, kind words, friendly reminders, and expects all of them to say sir or ma'am to him and to his coworkers. He has excellent attendance and is always looking for ways to improve San Felipe Memorial Middle School's culture for our students and for his colleagues. He goes above and beyond to assist us with anything that may cause harm or danger to our students and staff, and is often reminding his peers to get on duty or where they should be in a nice, Cuellar way. He has a great rapport with the majority of the staff, and this is because of his sincerity and because of his honesty. Being part of leadership, he has really helped Mrs. Sagoon and I to prioritize our staff's needs as well as our culture. We are honored to recognize Mr. Mario Cuellar as San Felipe Memorial Middle School's Teacher of the Month for November. Congratulations.
Good evening, President Overfelt, Dr. Rios, and members of the board. It is my pleasure to introduce to you our Cardwell November Teacher of the Month, Ms. Cindy Cardenas. Ms. Cardenas has been teaching for 15 years and is the proud mother of one daughter named Desiree Cardenas. She is always willing to go the extra mile for anything that needs to be done. She is a caring and compassionate teacher who puts her students' needs above her own. Her lessons are always engaging and challenging as she sets high expectations for her students. When there is a new teacher in her committee, many extra hours are needed to support the adjustments of that new teacher to the campus Head Start requirements, and that is where you can see Ms. Cardenas working late hours after school to meet these needs. She also serves as our team leader for Committee 3 and is a super role model for her team members. She is always smiling, extremely positive, and a true team player. Ms. Cardenas is a great woman, an amazing teacher, a remarkable team leader, and we are truly blessed to have her at Cardwell. Tonight, we celebrate you, Ms. Cardenas, for being our Cardwell November Teacher of the Month. We love you. Congratulations.
Good evening, President Overfelt, Dr. Rios, and members of the board. It is Buena Vista's pleasure to introduce you to Annabelle Hernandez, one of our third grade teachers. It is her second year teaching in our district. Mrs. Hernandez is a new teacher who's fired up about learning. All there is to know about education. She takes notes of all of her colleagues and implements the best strategies into her classroom. When we needed to consider making adjustments to our team pods, she was the one who said, "I will do self-contained," and was willing to do all the subjects as she thought it would be best for the team. She's an enthusiastic teacher, but is willing to be equally enthusiastic about bringing extracurricular events to life. She's a student council sponsor and is diligent in assuring that the organization shines bright each day. She believes in teaching children to be servant leaders and to always think of others. Mrs. Hernandez is the one that you will find on campus working late at night or on weekends, and not alone either. It is always a family affair. She has enlisted the help of her husband, Eloy, I know he was here earlier, to also help out around campus, whether it is to help build the homecoming float, trick or trunk, or driving floats for other organizations for which she is not a sponsor. But what we love about Mrs. Hernandez is her humble personality. When she rises up and does a great deed, she always gives the glory to her third grade team or other colleagues. Thank you, Mrs. Hernandez, for putting your whole heart and soul into Buena Vista Elementary. Thank you for that beautiful smile every day and for leading, learning, and leaving a legacy at Buena Vista.
Good evening, Board President Overfelt, Dr. Rios, and board members. I'd like to present to you Catherine Smith. She's our reading interventionist at Dr. Fermin Calderon Elementary. And, well, that's her title, but she does so much more at the campus. Ms. Smith is definitely passionate about her work, not only in the classroom, but at the campus. In the classroom, you can find her she services about 50 plus students, and every time we walk into her classroom, she has engaging lessons that are planned out for her students' needs. She's always finding ways to motivate and has incentives for them to work hard and achieve their goals. She has personal goals for each of her students and follows through and talking to their teachers, how are they doing, always following through with her students, tracking them. That's in the classroom, but outside the classroom, she has taken the initiative to begin monthly family literacy nights at DFC. And every month you can see her decked out in an outfit that goes along with the story she will be reading to and the activities that families will be working on. She dedicates her time to make our school the very best. She's very active in recruiting volunteers to our campus, whether it's for career day, science fairs, parent trainings, or celebrity readers. She mentors grade level teachers during planning protocol and was instrumental in incorporating Reading Street curriculum smoothly for our kinder, first, and second grade teachers. She's very helpful in finding resources for the grade levels and for individual teachers, and she holds inventory for the campus. She still finds time to mentor first-year teachers as well in anything from best classroom setup to lesson planning for all students. And on top of that, you can still see her at most school events, whether it's Chick-fil-A nights, skate nights, or any other function. She is there to help in any way she can. We are very proud of Kathy Smith and the contribution she makes to our campus day in and day out, evening after evening, day after day. We thank you for your hard work and dedication to our awesome campus and to our district. Congratulations, DFC loves you.
Good evening, Dr. Rios, Board President Overfelt, and board members. This is Karen Schaefer. She is our November Teacher of the Month for Dr. Lonnie Green. Mrs. Schaefer is truly outstanding in all that she does. She is constantly looking for ways to become better for her students. She is always on the lookout for something to do. She sees opportunities to encourage, challenge, and celebrate students. She has recently taken it upon herself to create a campus highlights wall at Lonnie Green. She posts pictures of campus events up where everyone can see them to celebrate the celebrity in everyone at school. She organized and led our first AR Test Fest, and before it was even over, she already had ideas on how to improve it for the next one, which is this Wednesday. She has volunteered to host tutorials in the computer lab after school 3 days a week. She has opened it up to her cluster without asking any other teacher to volunteer their time. Mrs. Schaefer is giving, patient, and kind. She can always be counted on to lend a helping hand or lead a project at Lonnie Green. We are blessed beyond measure to have Ms. Schaefer as part of our team. Congratulations, Ms. Schaefer, for being our Teacher of the Month.
Good evening, President Overfelt, members of the board, and Dr. Rios. I am honored to present Roxanne Zamariba as our November Teacher of the Month for Garfield Elementary. Since I did not know Mrs. Zamariba before August, and this is her first year in the classroom, I asked her to send me a little bio about herself. And initially, she hesitated because she is somewhat reserved, and as she put it, she does not like to talk about herself. So after a couple of emails and a few days, this is what she wrote. She grew up in San Antonio, and she has been married for 19 years to her wonderful husband, Jeffsy Zamaripa, and they have two wonderful children, Andrea, 15, who attends Del Rio High School, and Jessie, 12, who attends Del Rio Middle School. Mrs. Zamaripa graduated from St. Mary's University with a BA in Exercise Sports Science in 1997, and she earned a Master's of Education in 2003 from the University of Phoenix. She has had the pleasure of working in Arizona, Virginia, and Texas, where she has mainly worked as a long-term sub to balance work and family. She has also had the pleasure of working with autistic children using applied behavior analysis therapy so they can lead happy, productive, and fulfilling lives. As I mentioned before, this is her first official year as a teacher. In these last 4 months, Mrs. Zamaripa quickly gained the respect of her colleagues, school staff, and myself by being a team player and putting the needs of our students first. From the day I met her and interviewed her in late August, the week before school started, to a few weeks ago when I called her on the weekend and asked her to move from kindergarten to 5th grade, Mrs. Zamaripa maintains a positive outlook and a positive outlook, saying in a few words, "Put me where you need me, Rubio." I have enjoyed getting to know Mrs. Amariba, and I'm so excited for my students, for the students that interact with her on a daily basis, because I can rest assured that they are receiving an awesome instruction being in a 5th grade bilingual classroom with Mrs. Amariba. Again, it is my honor to name Mrs. Amariba as our November Teacher of the Month at Garfield Elementary.
Good evening, Dr. Rios, President Overfelt, members of the board. Lamar Elementary's Teacher of the Month for November is Mrs. Alma Cavazos. Mrs. Cavazos started out with us as a student teacher. She joined our Lamar team shortly after and has been with us 3 what seem very long years already. She started out as a 3rd grade teacher, a math teacher, eager to learn and grow in every way possible. She is currently teaching 5th grade math and again is going above and beyond to ensure her instruction meets the needs of all students. After attending camp this summer, she was knocking on my door shortly thereafter, ready to bounce ideas off of me and ensure she had the green light to move forward. Already this year, she has organized and overseen a Lamar family math night, open to all grade level students and their families. This event was planned for weeks in advance, where our students were the teachers and facilitated math centers and provided some insight to parents on how to work with their children at home aligned to the classroom. All activities were student-led and presented, and Mrs. Cavazos simply observed to ensure everyone was on task. This was just one activity she picked up at camp. Mrs. Cavazos also lends a helping hand anytime there is a need. She is currently helping, she already assisted with UIL Number Sense, placing a 2nd grade Number Sense winner in addition to a 5th place winner and student council, among many other things. We are grateful to her as part of our Lamar team and thankful for her hard work she puts in for our students' success. Congratulations, Mrs. Cavazos. You are Lamar pride.
Good evening, Dr. Rios, Board President Overfelt, and members of the board. I'd like to introduce you to Ms. Joanne Perez. She is no stranger to instruction. Many of y'all may be familiar with her, as she has had 30-plus years of teaching experience within our district. We'd like to first start off by saying that Ms. Perez is the driving force of data and curriculum when it comes to math instruction. Through her continued self-reflection, we are able to see a passion for math and students increase in the short amount of time that she has taken on the leadership of our 3rd grade team. It is without a doubt her high standards help promote a positive learning environment for students, and her ability to teach through scaffolded opportunities is amazing. When you hear educator experts preach that meeting students where they are at must be the first step in instructional success, Mrs. Perez's learning environment is proof that this is an absolute truth. From initiating a race to the top in basic math fluency to never watering down grade-level TEKS, Mrs. Perez reaches each learner through academic vocabulary, collaborative grouping, and ongoing formative checks. Students, while they still experience a love-hate relationship with 3rd grade rigor, truly have built confidence in learning at the depth and rigor that they need to grow to success. Mrs. Perez, you truly work so hard and are most deserving of this recognition. It is without a doubt that she is a leader of not only transformation, but of service, and we are so proud to have her on our team. Mrs. Perez, thank you for always saying yes to our beliefs, our goals, and for leading North Heights.
Good evening, Mr. Overfelt, Dr. Rios, members of the board. Mrs. Tomasa Saucedo, we all know her as Tommy, is a soft-spoken woman of strong faith with a calm and caring nature about her. These are just a few of the attributes that make her such a successful teacher. Children in her class recognize the patience she possesses and take risks because of it. Consequently, her students feel safe and end up accomplishing a great deal. She has dedicated most of her career to servicing our bilingual population. She has high expectations for her students and always sends a message to her students and the families that education is a must in order to reach their dreams and accomplish their goals. As a new grandma and a veteran teacher of bilingual students at RCE, she has her hands full. We are thankful to have such a compassionate educator in our Cougar family. Thank you, Mrs. Saucedo. You're a blessing to everyone around you, and especially your students. We love you.
Sir, we should have taken a picture first, bro. That's all right, just stand over there. Yes, thanks for everything. Very nice. Thanks, Coach. You have to tell me about that trip soon. Good. Thank you, Thomas. Good job, man. Thank you, Seamus. Very nice, sir. Nice, Ellie. Good job. Thank you, man. Good job. Thank you, man. Good job. Thank you, man. Congratulations to you. Thank you. Hey, Karen. Good job, man. Very nice. Congratulations. She's holding up the line. Thank you, man. Thank you, man. Thank you, man. Sally's doing repairs over. She's holding up the line. Thank you, man. Congratulations. Thank you. Yeah, let's do it.
Takes us 5 citizens to be heard. I don't have anything up here. I don't know if, I'm guessing we don't have any citizens to be heard this evening. Okay, just want to be sure. Okay. Takes us on to 6, public hearing. A, District of Innovation Overview, Ms. Sandra Hernandez.
Good evening, Mr. Overfelt, Dr. Rios, members of the board, and members of our audience. This evening, I'm going to introduce an overview for the District of Innovation. We move on to the second phase of the process. So I'm introducing this evening that concept for change. The District of Innovation concept was passed into law by the 84th Legislative Session in House Bill 1842, which created the Texas Education Code Chapter 12A. This law allows for traditional independent school districts to access most of the flexibilities available to Texas open enrollment charter schools. And to access these flexibilities, the school district must adopt an innovation plan set forth in the Texas Education Code Chapter 12A and the Texas Education Agency's rules. So what does this mean for San Felipe Del Rio CISD? House Bill 1842 provides San Felipe Del Rio CISD with the opportunity to design a comprehensive education plan according to the needs and resources of our district, while maximizing local control. The eligibility for a district to become a district of innovation for designation is the school district's most recent academic performance must be at least acceptable. San Felipe Del Rio CISD received a rating of Met Standard on the Texas Education Agency's 2017 accountability system. The benefits for becoming a district of innovation is customization. Districts can develop district of innovations plans which exercise greater local control over decisions impacting instructional models for students, and it leads to increased flexibility with regards to state accountability and mandates, and it allows school districts to develop innovative approaches to teaching and learning. The second benefit is autonomy. Districts can submit a district of innovation plan to the commissioner, but approval is not required. The third, as I mentioned earlier, is customization. Districts have the flexibility to implement practices similar to charter schools by seeking allowable exemptions from state policy. And these exemptions, such as these that we have here, the allowable exemptions can include a uniform school start date, minimum minutes of instruction, 90% attendance rule, student discipline provisions with key exceptions, teacher certification, except as required by federal law. So again, these are just some of the allowable exemptions. There are also some prohibited exemptions, and these are just some. For example, the powers and duties of school board superintendents and principals cannot be changed. PEIMS, which is our Public Education Information Management System, cannot be changed. Criminal history checks, educator misconduct reporting, curriculum and graduation requirements, the requirements for bilingual education, special education, and pre-kindergarten are prohibited exemptions, so they're not eligible for the District of Innovation change. So what is the exemption that the district is considering? Well, the district is considering to create a more localized calendar with exemptions from one aspect of the law, which is the school start date. And that would be Texas Education Code 25.0811. The District of Innovation timeline, as I mentioned earlier, this is the second portion, or the second phase. The first portion was on November the 13th, 2017, where the San Felipe Del Rio CISD Board adopted a resolution in support of the District of Innovation proposal. We now move into the second portion, which is the public hearing for developing, the consideration for developing a District of Innovation plan under House Bill 1842. Later this evening, the board will choose to approve and move forward to appoint the District of Innovation Advisory Committee. The next portion of the timeline, in January and February, this committee will convene and meet to determine what exemptions from statutes and prepare the 2018 to 2022 District of Innovation Plan. It is a 5-year plan. Also in February, the advisory committee will complete their final version of the plan, and they will post it for 30 days on the district's website, which is a requirement. And a letter will be sent to the Commissioner of Education with the date of the resolution stating that the district's board is intending to vote on the innovation plan. By March, the District of Innovation Advisory Committee will conduct a public meeting to consider and approve the final version of the 2018-2022 District of Innovation Plan. The district's Board of Trustees will then approve the innovation plan with a 2/3 majority vote. Upon approval, the district will notify the commissioner of the adoption, and in March and April, the district will update policy changes with TASB. And that summarizes the District of Innovation process. At this time, I believe we can open up for any public comments.
Thank you, ma'am. At this time, are there any public comments from anyone in the audience concerning the district's plan to pursue the District of Innovation? One last time, is there anyone who wishes to make a public comment about the district's plan for District of Innovation? I hear no questions, ma'am.
Thank you very much.
With that, we adjourn out of the public hearing and back into the regular scheduled board meeting. 7, board members report. A, annual Board of Trustees Continuing Education Credit Compliance Report, as is required every year. The state of Texas, under the Education Code, requires the board president or designee to read into the record each tier for continuing education, whether or not the board member has met or exceeded that particular set of hours for each tier. We'll start with Tier 1, which is update to the Texas Education Code, which tends to happen after the legislative session, and the length is determined by the issues that are addressed during the legislative session. All board members are required. Mr. Ken Smith has met this requirement. Myself, Joshua Orfeld, has met this requirement. Ms. Cecilia Martinez-Lozano has met this requirement. Raymond Mesa has met this requirement. Roberto Chavita has met this requirement. Ms. Deanna Gonzalez has met this requirement. And Ms. Amy Haynes has met this requirement. Tier 2 is team building session, at least 3 hours each year. Team of 8 training was held on June 12, 2017 and conducted by ESC Region 15. Ken Smith has met this requirement. Myself, Joshua Orfeld, has met this requirement. Cecilia Martinez-Lozano has met this requirement. Raymond Mesa has met this requirement. Roberto Chavita has met this requirement. Deanna Gonzalez has met this requirement. And Ms. Amy Haynes has met this requirement. Tier 3, which is additional continuing education, is based on assessed needs for first-year board members at least 10 hours. Wow, 10 hours. Experienced board members at least 5 hours each year. And as we have all are now experienced board members, Ken Smith has met and exceeded this requirement. Myself, Joshua Orfeld, has met and exceeded this requirement. Ms. Cecilia Martinez Lozano has met and exceeded this requirement. Mr. Raymond Mesa has met and exceeded this requirement. Mr. Roberto Chavita has met and exceeded this requirement. Ms. Deanna Gonzalez has met and exceeded this requirement. And Ms. Amy Haynes has met and exceeded this requirement. And there, so that is read into the record. All 7 board members are compliant with the CE, continuing education requirements, for the 2017 school year. 8, reports. Attendance and discipline report, second 6 weeks. And Dr. Garza, as is also customary, these are sent out. But if any board member wishes to ask questions there about anything specific, we can most definitely take care of that. Are there any questions on anything out of attendance and discipline report for the second 6 weeks by anyone? Mr. Smith?
Not really a question, but a comment. I mean, I'd like to note Blended Academy and their delta, the difference between the previous 2 years' worth of attendance versus this year's attendance is quantum leaps, and I think that's worth recognizing as the point. I think they're at what, 94%? Is that what I remember seeing versus last year's at about 85%? This is phenomenally different.
Mr. Overfield?
Yes, sir.
If I may add, I believe there was one day last week or week before, I believe. Week before, where as a campus, they had 100% attendance.
Yeah, it's worth recognizing.
Very good. Any other comments or questions about attendance or discipline? Okay, thank you. And that takes us to B, health plan update. Ms. Aide Garcia and Laura English and Ms. Valdez.
Good evening, Mr. Overfelt, Dr. Rios, board members. This presentation on our health insurance is to discuss the changes for the January 2018 through August 2018 timeframe that we had prepared for prior to this, back in August for our health plan. We received information on compliance under the Affordable Care Act and the Internal Revenue Service. We then, based on that information, are going to discuss changes to the compensation plan supplemental stipend and also update the health insurance plan rates. Just a little history. Administration and the Health Insurance Committee made recommendations to the board based on information that was provided by our district's health insurance consultant, Mike Getz from Gallagher Group. Those recommendations included a change in the start date from September 1 to January 1st, again, to give us more time to communicate with the employees and plan. And based on the forecast of claims activity for the upcoming calendar year for our health insurance plan, we calculated an employee-only rate of $156.89 and approved at that time a stipend to offset those costs. All of these recommendations were shared with our employees during the open enrollment period. The open enrollment was from October to November. However, these recommendations were approved back in August, and those were shared between October and November. Between that same time frame, we received information from Mr. Getz that the plans that we had approved, that we had presented, that we had spent months discussing and preparing weren't in compliance with the Affordable Care Act. So at that point in time, I ended my communication with Mr. Getz and was assigned the Area Senior Vice President Compliance Counsel for Gallagher Group, which was Mr. Andrew Malachowski. Mr. Malachowski informed us and guided us through the process
Since our health insurance plan rates included an employee contribution of $156.89, they were not in compliance with PPACA because they did not meet any of the IRS safe harbor tests. There are 3 safe harbor tests, and the safest test, or the least complicated test for a district our size or an employer our size, would be to use the federal poverty line safe harbor. Now, on the federal poverty line safe harbor, it takes the poverty line set by the IRS and multiplies that by a percentage, and then you divide by 12 to come up with what the maximum fee your health insurance plan can show to charge an employee. Now, the maximum fee, if for our health insurance schedules, we had it at $156.89, could not have exceeded $96.07. So again, he did inform us that the $156.89 that we had previously put on our schedules and was not in compliance with this safe harbor, which is the $96.07. Now, it wouldn't be in compliance with any of the other safe harbors either, because if we were to use the W-2 safe harbor, it would take a formula off of an employee's wages. So this would be at year end. If an employee were to have earned less than the poverty level, again, there's some employees who work 4 hours, but it's based off of their W-2. If their W-2 would have been less than the $12,000 per year, then again, we would not have been in compliance. And the rate of pay safe harbor, it is the same rule as the W-2, but you would use this formula, but you would still have to monitor to make sure that nobody falls below. So if you would have a fee, which we had a fee on the schedule, the highest fee that we could show would have been $96.07. However, ours was $156.89. So at that time, we began discussions of how we needed to change our health plan rates in order to be in compliance. And in order to be in compliance as well, and also the return to work stipend that we had offered, that we had discussed, that would not impact the employee, he shared with us that this would not be classified as a benefit by IRS and would be subject to all the deductions any type of income would be subject to. So at that point, again, the stipend that we were considering to offset the cost in our employee plans, to meet the forecast that we have on the claims activity, would not be in compliance with the safe harbor and would also impact our employees on deductions. So again, at that point, we made the decision to remove the stipend and remove or reallocate in the health insurance table the $156.89 to not appear on the employee side, but to appear as an employer contribution. That would be the only way we could be in compliance. What we also discussed was that those employees that did not have health insurance with the district because they either have military or with a spouse would receive a stipend. That is also a violation of IRS. They would consider this as an opt-out incentive, and we would, again, be out of compliance. So again, the stipend is not something that we should have ever offered. However, we didn't have that guidance. And again, the max fee, if we were going to show a fee on our health insurance plan rates, had to meet the IRS safe harbor test, which the max was $96.07. So the recommendations for our January 2018 to August 2018 plan is, as I mentioned before, our health insurance plan rates will reflect a 0 employee-only premium for the basic and high deductible plan. That is what it showed in the prior year, and so this would mean it'd be no impact to the employee. And also the employer contribution would include what was approved during our budget, which was $439.95 per employee per month. That is part of our recurring budget. That was what was presented back in August. And the $156.89 that was included in the committed funds. So again, the expense will be the same for the district, The tables will be updated to show a health plan rate of $0 for employee only, and we will be in compliance with PPACA, with Safe Harbor, and with this, there would be no impact to the employee. This is a comparison of the tables. So the removal of the stipend is included as an agenda item under Human Resources, and the change to the monthly contribution is also included as an agenda item under Human Resources. So yes, you can see my mouse. So table 1 was the table that was presented in August. This was the table that included a stipend of $156.89. And this is what our table looked like. This table is not in compliance. The stipend is not in compliance. And in order to be in compliance, we shifted this rate that we had here for employee over to employer. So now you see the total $596.84 reflected on the employer side. And again, that's in order for all of our health plans to be in compliance. This information has not been shared with the employees. We have been working with Gallagher Group to make sure which should have happened back in August, that they made sure that everything that we had was in compliance. However, at that point, now that we have everything corrected to present to the board, we have also terminated our contract with Gallagher Group for their misguidance. Are there any questions?
Questions from any members of the board? Yes, ma'am. Mrs. Lozano.
When were all these discussions happening?
When were the discussions happening?
When we determined that we were not in compliance.
We received in late October a message. We were having a phone call with Mr. Getz, and he said the health insurance plan rates that we have aren't in compliance. I shared it with my team, and at that point I said, what do you mean they're not in compliance if we worked on this for months with you? He couldn't explain, I believe, I could only assume that he tried to maintain this to where it wouldn't be escalated to supervisors. But I said that, I needed an explanation. I needed the reasoning. I needed to understand what we weren't in compliance with, because it was we were needing to present this to the board and to our employees, why we were going to have changes when we worked on it for so many months prior to that, and we presented something in August. It took a while for him to finally understand that I wasn't going to accept any of the information he was sharing, because there wasn't even documentation being provided. So at that point, that's when in November, we finally I spoke to Nick Long, who is the area vice president, and he assigned Andrew to us, who is legal counsel for compliance, and he walked us through all of the information, and we had several meetings with him, because we asked a lot of questions. We would have a meeting with him to make sure we understood everything. We would go back to the table and work on everything to understand how we would look in the system. We'd come up with more questions, and we would just continue to have questions to him till we reached the final point where you can't charge, you weren't in compliance and you can't offer the stipend. And Andrew did not have any of the background, so we were going through all of the steps with him. So that's where it took, I want to say, about 3 weeks. So I believe we finished this the first week of December, and then that's when we sent out the board update, and this is where we are today. Unfortunately.
How many people will not be receiving that stipend that they might have been anticipating? And have they been individually notified?
No, ma'am, they haven't been notified. As Ms. Valdez said, we just now put the information together. Our plan is to communicate to everyone tomorrow.
And it's 130 employees.
130? And how will this impact, if at all, next year's benefits? Because I believe you had presented that the benefits as we approve them would be rolled out for next year as well.
Correct. The plan with the insurance committee this year is to create a 3-year rollout, at least a 3-year rollout, in order to meet the forecast of the claims activity. The decision during these conversations will be the placement of the $156. How is that cost going to be absorbed? And what is the plan for that? As of this point, that's the forecast. I mean, that value can change. Right now, we're just looking at, of course, the information that we have in front of us. But it is, again, the conversations will be how that expense, where that expense will fall between employer or employee, and it would be, and for the district, it would be.
I'm sorry, Yana, can I stop
Yes,
right
sir.
there? We committed a forecast on the budget to show that that contribution would not change. The contribution didn't change for this year, and we planned. We didn't make this decision not expecting to have at a minimum the same contribution for next year, and we talked about different sources of revenue for next year. And I have communicated to the employees during my visits to the campuses that the budget for this summer won't be an issue, and neither will health insurance, so that we have at least 2 years, this year and next year, to see how we would reduce the expenses. So for next year, we don't intend and we do not anticipate any changes to the contribution. Now, should the expenses take leaps and bounds? Okay, well then we have to have that conversation. But with the growth that it's had over the couple of years, we don't expect any changes for next year. We are, through the committee, considering options to reduce costs. We talked about having a district-operated clinic, or at least we contract with a provider. And we talked about bringing a different consultant who would bring different ideas, and we have a RFQ
For claims audit.
for on the claim side. But we do not expect changes for the coming year, again, unless our expenses grow by over $1 million.
How was Gallagher paid?
We have a monthly, we have a contract with them where we pay a monthly fee of $1,900. That is the expense on the district side. And the contract does have a 30-day termination clause.
So you did state they are terminated.
Yes, ma'am, I did communicate that with them.
I mean, what was their excuse? I mean, that's huge.
terrible.
Non-compliance is
How long did
pretty
you have?
significant.
How long with the? Excuse me. How long were we with them? How many years with? They don't seem to be giving you very good advice.
This was our second year.
Well,
Had we completed
two-
this year, it
2
would have been
years
2
too
years. So it was 1.5.
Good riddance.
Other questions? Mr. Smith?
So we dissolved the contract with Gallagher. What's the next step?
Mr. Smith, we have different consultants that we can turn to for month-to-month advice while the board approves another contract. So we're in the board updates, I share with y'all individual contracts that I make under $5,000. So we have some people to pick from that can advise us for the next couple of months while we engage someone formally for the long haul.
Okay, so Gallagher's engaged to close that gap. We've informed Gallagher we're pulling the plug. They've got so many days or weeks or months worth of service that we're already entitled to based on the latest agreement, or it's done?
The end date for services with Gallagher is January 31st, the end of the month for January.
So Gallagher is the one that kind of manages also claims?
No, sir.
No, sir.
All they do is that they advise us. They're a group that's supposed to advise us, that's supposed to be familiar with the law. The one that administers the claims is the TML.
Okay.
Okay, so that's a separate group, and that's a separate.
So as far as employees, they still got the same SBA?
Yes, sir.
Correct.
Nothing changes. It's just our advisor
Got it.
changes.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
thought on recouping some of those monthly payments? I mean, they didn't steer us in the right direction. We could have really been in trouble.
I'll visit with Mr. Schulman, see what advice he shares with us on that matter.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
8C, Facilities and Construction Report. Mr. Henge.
Good evening, President Overfelt, Dr. Rios, members of the board. For tonight's update, I'd like to discuss briefly the new construction Laughlin Elementary STEM Magnet School, where we're at with that project. Provide an update to you on technology as far as service desk monthly tickets that came in from November 1 to December 1. And on the maintenance side, we'll also be looking at the service tickets. Now that they're on the same system with technology, we'll be able to provide these reports every month to you. We'll also take a look briefly at campus upgrades, San Felipe Memorial Middle, field improvements we've recently made there, and playground installations that we're doing throughout the district right now. Laughlin Elementary STEM Magnet School, we began breaking ground on 12/12. So all the site work is taking place now. Security clearance has gone through. We have boots on the ground there. Based on our timeline, the modular buildings are supposed to be getting relocated on January 15th. And walkways, ramps, and utilities should start coming together around 3/1. The sport tickets for technology for last month, tickets submitted were 924, tickets completed were 815, and the tickets carried over with the difference between the two, which was 109. That 109 takes into account ones that are currently in progress or on hold waiting on parts to come in. Whereas the maintenance department for the same time frame, they achieved 381 tickets submitted. Tickets completed were 307, and they have a carryover of 74 tickets. San Felipe Memorial Middle School, field improvements. We ended up completing this one today. We installed the netting on the backside to try and keep the soccer balls inside the field. Over the years, it's caused some damage to some of the neighbors, so it was a request that we wanted to get addressed as soon as possible. So the netting got completed today, I believe, around 4 o'clock. It's 21 feet high by 65 feet wide. So hopefully that will eliminate any more issues that we have there. Playground installations, just a quick recap of where that project started out from. We purchased some playground equipment from Laughlin in 2017. The cost to the district was around $10,000. And with all the equipment that we received, the MSRP on that would be upwards of somewhere around $200,000. The deployment status to date, we've sent some of this equipment out to Cardwell, Chivita. Calderon is currently in progress, and that's what the picture is there. Our maintenance guys are starting to dig up the ground and get prepped for it. Then the Del Rio Middle School and North Heights are also in design phases, so they'll be receiving the rest of the equipment that we have purchased. That's some of the equipment being staged out at Calderon, and they started putting up some of the equipment last week, so I'm anticipating that'll be completed this week. Questions?
Any questions by anyone on the board for, yes, sir, Mr. Smith?
Couple of questions.
Yes, sir.
On your support tickets tracking for maintenance and technology.
Yes, sir.
The carryover, where is that number considered in? Is that the carryover from November or October? Was that considered in this October or November report? Or?
The reports I'm trying to standardize on are going to be from the first of the month until the first of the next month, so it'll be that 30-day window. and anything that doesn't get completed within that time would be the difference between the two, is the way I'm looking at it.
Okay. So, I guess,
We can pull any report we need to on this system. So if there's something additional or more detailed that you'd like on this, that's something we can definitely pull for you.
yeah, I guess this method does not assure 100% closure, I guess. And you got about 80 plus percent attainment, but you can't, with the report, you can't validate the
Right.
balance.
Well,
I don't know if that would be on a average response time or something like that.
If I may, Mr. Smith, we discussed at Cabinet today that very question, that the next report that we bring you will say how many of those tickets are 30 days carryover, 60-day carryover, so that we can more accurately see what's not being completed and then have answers as to why something would be really even more than 30 days complete. We don't want to do that.
Yeah,
But
awesome.
we discussed improving the report.
All right. And then a couple of questions back at the Laughlin STEM project. So the modular buildings are going to be arriving here in about 3.5 weeks, give or take. And the prep work tied to that is where.
Well, right now, a lot of it's dependent on the groundwork that's being done. We did have a slight delay in getting some security clearances for various reasons, but now we do have everyone engaged. The modulars are already built, they're wrapped and ready. So as soon as we call them, I believe they told me they need like a week or a week and a half's notice, and they can start bringing them out. So a lot of this right now comes down to how quickly we can get this ground prepped.
All right. Is there any holding fee from the modular building manufacturer?
No, sir, not at this time. And I've inquired about that as well. They've worked with us really well so far on it.
Very good. All right.
Ms. Gonzalez?
I'm afraid you're just going to fall on me. Affordable buildings at Cardwell, what's going to happen to those? They're falling apart over there. Are we going to get rid of them? Or?
Yes, ma'am. We had them on auction earlier, and we only sold one. The next step is really, we're going to bring a recommendation to the board that we just give them away for the cost of moving them and absorbing the asbestos abatement fees so that we can get rid of them. They really are of no value to the district.
And there's, what, 3 of them?
There's a total of 10 throughout the district. We have some over at Annex 3, and we have some over at the warehouse.
Campus.
Yes, ma'am.
So, okay, so you're going to get rid of.
Yes, ma'am.
It's going to take a lot to move them, right?
Well, whoever wants them, the recommendation we're going to give to the board is come get them, but there are some fees associated with moving them. Asbestos abatement is probably the biggest fee.
And we do have the paperwork, I believe, for the sign-off on that, so they would basically just sign off that they would be the ones held responsible for the asbestos abatement.
Any other questions on any of the facilities updates? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
That takes us to 9, consent agenda. Are there any items that the board wishes to pull for a separate vote or ask questions about before a vote is taken on consent? Mr. Mesa.
Yes, sir. I have one on the bids. On page 94. Zero-turn mowers. Somebody could answer a question for me.
The zero-turn lawnmowers were bid out for the athletic fields. The grounds maintenance, Mr. Carcasey, had us bid those out, and they are for the athletic fields only. This is the first time we've purchased this type of mower.
Okay. The question that I had was the red designates the bidder who got the award? '94.
Correct.
Okay, because I saw the Kubota bid.
The Kubota did not meet the specs and they were more expensive. The one that was less expensive, if you can see, it didn't, it wasn't recommended for heavy duty. They bid 3 different ones, and the first one that they bid that was less costly, it was not recommended for heavy duty, so it wasn't considered.
Okay, so we don't have any idea what the specs were. I guess,
Well, I've got a copy of the bid in my office. If you need me to get that or provide it to you, I'm more than happy to.
I just wondered about the horsepower, what it was in regard to heavy duty. That's all. There's a $2,000 difference.
Right, but that first one that is less costly for $8,364, it did not meet the specifications that we set out. It wasn't large enough, and even Kubota themselves said it was not done for heavy duty. They themselves put that on the bid, that it was not, they were just giving us what they have, showing us what they had, but they did specify that it was not for heavy duty use. And
Okay,
then
I
the
guess-
other 2 that they bid were more expensive.
I guess the question has to do with, are there certain recommendations in regard to horsepower or the width of the
Yes,
mower?
yes.
See, and that's information that I don't have to make a good decision.
Yes, that was in the bid itself, Mr. Mesa. If you want me, I'll be happy to give a copy to Ms. Valdez, or I can email it to you, or give it to, or I can go get it right now if you want me to.
No, that's fine. I just,
But the specifications that we were given, that I was given by Mr. Carcasey, it did have the, like the size of the mowing head, the number of blades, the type of cut, the horsepower, all of that was specified as basic of what we wanted. And the Kubota, the second one that they did, met those specifications, but they were more expensive.
okay. All right, thank you very much.
Yes, I'm happy. If you need to look at it anytime, please come by my office. I'm happy to show it to you.
Thank you.
Ms. Lozano?
F6, Weaver Technologies for $139,000.
F6. Yes, F6, consideration approved purchase order over $25,000 with Weaver Technology for $139,261.75. Funding source is the general fund technology for a district computer refresh plan. Mr. Henge or Mr. Gonzalez?
Yes, ma'am.
I understand the ILQ, that your pricing has been obtained via the ILQ. Is that like a bidding?
Right, those computers go out for the bid, or go out for bid before the beginning of every school year.
Sorry,
I'm
let
sorry.
Paula answer the questions about procurement.
The ILQ is an interlocal procurement, and we are members of several purchasing cooperatives that have already bid all of these items out. We have Buy Board, we have DIR, we have TIPS, we're members of TCPN, Region 20. We're members of innumerable purchasing cooperatives. And when we did this, we bid out, but we got price quotes from 3 or 4 or 5 different vendors for these items that had already been bid out.
So,
with the cooperatives, they all bid, and the cooperatives award the bids, but they bid different companies bid different costs for each line item. So when we do a bid, we send it out, but we send it to these cooperatives because they've already bid it, and we're asking them to give us their interlocal, their cooperative pricing, and then we compare. and select who is low.
So for this particular job, this is the lowest bid?
Yes. Yes. You know, to become an interlocal vendor, you have to go through a really intricate vetting process for these companies. So that's one reason why we're so pleased to be able to go through these different companies to bid with and to get quotes from, because they've been vetted and they've had to meet so many qualifications that we don't require when we just bid out. And they're awarded at all of these different things like Buy Board Awards, Region 20, all of the participating cooperatives award these bids. And it's, you know, it's cut and dried, and then they can send you their pricing. They can lower the price if they want to, but they can't go higher than what they have bid and been awarded with any of the interlocals.
It's just really interesting how
It
that
is
works.
interesting. It really is interesting.
How it works that he's always getting the job.
How what?
How Weaver is always getting
Well,
the job.
Weaver was awarded a lot of the Dell products through the interlocals. You know, and that's, you know, we're not awarding that. The interlocals did. And then they send us their pricing based on their contracts with Buy Board or their contracts with, you know, any of the different cooperatives.
Ma'am, we have two vendors who get most of the bids. I'll ask Mr. Henge, for this product, Weaver's going to get the bids. For the, Mr. Henge, what's the other company that gets a lot of the bids?
It's our HP Premier Partner, which any Hewlett-Packard equipment, we buy it through SQL Data Systems. And then Weaver is our Dell Premier Partner, so any Dell stuff we buy through them. However, over this last year, we are strictly using them to purchase Dell equipment. We haven't used any support services with them like we've used in the past or anything like that. So out of the pricing between the Dell and the HP for the volume of computers that we're looking to purchase tonight, the Dell just beats it out. I mean, they have manufacturing down, they have costs down, and it was really a cost decision based between the two.
So a computer refresh plan is actually buying new computers.
That's buying new computers with 3-year warranty like we've done for the last 3 years. And then SQL Data Systems, we primarily use them on the networking side now through the E-rate program. But we do still have the option to be able to buy Hewlett-Packard if our end users want to do that. We have both out on bid this year.
Thank you.
Any other items on consent? Do you wish to have that one pulled for a separate vote, or are you not good? Okay.
Thank you.
Mr. Mesa, did you want C2 pulled for a separate vote on the zero turn, or?
I'm fine with that, but
Okay. And at this time, is there a motion to approve the consent agenda? As is, Mr. Chavita, seconded by Mr. Smith. Any other discussion? All in favor? Unanimous, thank you. As is tradition, reading of donations. Ms. Haynes?
Yes, sir. We have the monetary donations. We have 4 from Chick-fil-A for $684.13. To Blended Academy, Dr. Felipe Calderon, Dr. Lonnie Green Elementary, North Heights Elementary, 5th grade. Mr. Eric Feister, $50 to Buena Vista Elementary. We have 11 Life Touch National School Studios, $9,971.94 to various campuses. We have 3 from McDonald's, $1,875, Buena Vista Elementary, Dr. Felipe Calderon Elementary, and Garfield Elementary. We have Melanie Holsterler, hope I said that right, for $35, Del Rio Middle School Ladies and Gentlemen Club. We have the MRT Transport, $20 to Del Rio Middle School Ladies and Gentlemen Club. The The Spot and Pro Shop, 5 donations for $1,071. Buena Vista Elementary, Buena Vista Elementary stucco. Dr. Fedmin Calderon stucco, Barfield Elementary, North Heights Elementary. Non-monetary donations, Buena Vista for supplies, $1,675. Board of Federal Credit Union, Duro Bank and Trust, HEB, the Rotary Club of Del Rio, Valverde Mason Lodge 646, and Sprint. J.C. Penney, $68, Duro Freshman School, 1 jacket. Valverde Sheriff's Office, $200, Duro High School Fine Arts, one $180 guitar, and one $20 microphone. The parents of the Performing Arts Committee, $796, Duro Middle School Palm Squad, one-night stay at the La Quinta Auditorium, Austin. Then we have 9 donations to IRC Cardwell Elementary. Holiday incentives for students, $1,510. We also have Valverde Regional Medical Center, $2,000, SFDR CISD CTE Department, 2000 Ford retired ambulance. Then we have staff and students of Lamar Elementary, $690, Lamar Elementary, food and drinks for a fall festival. Buffalo Wings and Reigns, $36,347.17. San Felipe Del Rio CISD Elementary and San Felipe Memorial Middle School, $7,051 free kids meals and certificates. Thank you for all your donations.
Thank you. 7:43 p.m. That takes us to 10 administration. Consideration to approve the process under Education Code Chapter 12A to seek designation as a District of Innovation and appoint the District of Innovation Advisory Committee to develop a local innovation plan. Myself presenting with help from Ms. Hernandez.
Thank you, Mr. Overfelt. Thank you, and good evening once again. Today, the Board of Trustees has initiated the second step in the process to consider whether the district should develop a local innovation plan for designation as a District of Innovation. At this point, the board can either decline to pursue the designation as a District of Innovation or appoint a committee to develop a local innovation plan that complies with the relevant state law.
At this point, I have a list of committee members and position whether they are secondary, elementary, or community representatives recommended by each of the board members. Do you need those read into the record?
Yes, please.
Okay. Recommended by myself, Ms. Yarida Hernandez, secondary teacher at Del Rio Middle School, Veronica Oyama, elementary teacher at Ruben Chavita, and Shannon Lee Taylor, community representative from the Bank and Trust. For Ms. Haynes, Debbie Salinas, secondary teacher at Del Rio Freshman, Mari Rodriguez, elementary teacher at Buena Vista, and Charles Garabedian, community representative, Southwest Texas Junior College. For Ms. Martinez Lozano, Raquel Rodriguez, community representative from Valverde Regional Medical Center, Lori Espasa, secondary teacher at Del Rio Middle School, and Joanne DeWitt, elementary teacher at Lonnie Green. Ms. Gonzalez, Brenda Campos, elementary teacher at North Heights. Sarah Moreno, secondary teacher at Blended Academy. Chris Kuchman, community representative. Does he have a place of business or just representative as is? Retired? County librarian. Mr. Mesa, Stacy Ann Gallegos, secondary teacher, Del Rio Middle School. Melinda Brijalba, elementary teacher, Cardwell Elementary. And Lupe Buenrostro, community representative from, I believe he's with CBP, Mr. Mesa? Okay, not a problem. Mr. Chavita, Eloisa Jimenez, secondary teacher at San Felipe Memorial Middle School. Cindy Martinez at Ruben Chavita as the elementary representative. Ken Smith, David Velke, secondary teacher, San Felipe Memorial Middle School, and Amanda Cienega, elementary teacher at Lamar Elementary.
Thank you. And I'm going to read the recommendation. It is the recommendation that the San Felipe Del Rio CISD Board of Trustees approve the process under the Texas Education Code, Chapter 12A, to seek designation as a District of Innovation and appoint the San Felipe Del Rio CISD District of Innovation Advisory Committee to develop a local innovation plan.
You've heard the recommendation, and I so move. Is there a second? Ms. Lozano. Any other discussion? All in favor? Unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you.
B, consideration to approve the first reading of TASB Policy Update 109, affecting the policies of BBE Local, CDA Local, CKC Local, CNA Local, CO Local, DF Local, DH Local. Ms. Hernandez.
Thank you. Update 109 encourages changes in the law from the 85th legislative session that have an immediate effect on governance and management of the district. This evening, I'm going to be presenting a portion of TASB Policy Update 109. Based on Senate Bill 1566, new text is recommended for BBE Local, which satisfies new requirements regarding board member visits to a district campus or other facility. A revision in CDA Local incorporates changes from House Bill 1701 described at CDA Legal. A new text at CKC Local addresses the House Bill 332 requirement to include in the district's emergency operations plan a policy addressing security of district property used as a polling place. Changes to the CNA Local policy are as a result of Senate Bill 195, which expanded the reasons for which a district may apply for an additional transportation allotment for students residing within 2 miles of a campus to include areas presenting a high risk of violence. In CO Local, previous law allowed the administration to establish a grace period during which a student whose meal card or account balance was exhausted could continue to purchase meals. Senate Bill 1566 also now requires the board to establish the length of the grace period. Finally, as a result of Senate Bill 7, a new policy, DF Local, has been written to authorize the board to delegate as designee the superintendent the authority to take certain termination actions without further board action when a contract employee has engaged in serious criminal conduct. Also from Senate Bill 7 are revisions to the DH Local policy, which makes all district employees subject to the Educator Code of Ethics, emphasizes that electronic communications must comply with the ethical standards in the Educator's Code of Ethics, and clarifies that employees do not have an expectation of privacy in communications with students, and has included in the required notice of the drug-free workplace provisions that were previously in a separate exhibit into this policy.
Are there any questions? Yes, sir. Mr. Mesa.
Sandra, again, I question BBE. The vantage points are quite different from the reading on page, well, BBE Local. It says, require a board member to follow any posted requirements for visitors and limit visits that interfere with delivery of instruction or district operations. Ours, it says, visits during the school or business day shall not be permitted if their duration or frequency interferes with the delivery of instruction or district operations.
Correct. The text that you have that's in the local policy is a draft text that has been presented to us by TASB, which you see written in blue is the new text. What you see in the explanatory notes or in the vantage points are just summaries of the policies, including legal policy changes from the legislation that was approved this summer.
Yeah, what I'm saying is the ones listed under the vantage points is quite different from our local one. It says limits visits and then on ours it says shall not be permitted.
Sorry, point of clarification, Mr. President. I think that if we read the whole thing, it says shall not be permitted if. So it doesn't entirely say you cannot visit, but it just says if, and that if goes on to explain when they wouldn't be permitted, but it doesn't prohibit you as a board member from coming to the campus. It just directs us to be careful that we don't interfere with district operations or with instruction.
I understand. Because the same thing is done for parents, that they do not interfere with the instructional day. The only thing is, I don't think any of us have violated that rule. I'm sure it's in place for someone. But who makes that determination? I guess it's going to be my next question, because to say shall now be permitted and limits are two totally different things.
This can be discussed. Right now, this is the first reading, and this is a recommendation from TASB. So the text that you are seeing today is the text recommended by TASB. Certainly, we will bring it back to the committee for discussion.
Okay. As I mentioned again, I don't think anyone on this that sits on this board violates any of that. But I think it's good discussion to say that, okay, who is going to say they're not permitted? Because normally, I as a board member would want to see how the school day goes, whether it's the first day of school or the last day of school.
Correct.
I don't want to be there at 6 o'clock when there's nobody there.
The intent of the policy is for notification of the administration when a board member is visiting the campus.
I'm sorry, Mr. Overfeld.
Yes, sir.
The policy, Mr. Mesa, really is no different than what we had discussed during the Team of 8 training. The discussion we had then specifically was a board member asked, I believe it was Mr. Overfeld, should we contact the superintendent when we're going to go visit a campus? And my response was no, you don't have to call the superintendent. I only ask that you check in with the campus principal when you go. This policy states the same thing. If there was something that was going on at the time, the principals would inform you all. If the principal at any point felt that there was too many frequent visits and there was somebody feeling uncomfortable, they would share it with me, and then I'd have a discussion with the individual board member. As you mentioned before, I don't foresee that happening at all, but it really doesn't change the practices that we've had before as we discussed them in the Team of 8 training or as this policy outlines. We just ask that y'all check in with the principal. If there's testing going on, the principal will let you know it's probably not a good time. But short of that, I really don't see any obstacles. Maybe during transition time, we'd ask you to wait a little bit.
Sure.
But it's not intended to prohibit anybody from visiting the campus.
Okay, I just want to get clearance on that.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Can you put that in this, reword it? Rewrite it and put that what you just said?
We will bring this discussion back to the committee and certainly have a discussion at that point with the committee members, which are board members.
Any other questions? Recommendation?
Yes, sir. It is a recommendation of the administration that the Board of Trustees approve the first reading of TASB Update 109, affecting policies BBE local, CDA local, CKC local, CNA local, CO local, DF local, and DH local, and the revisions to the language in these policies is recommended by the Board Policy Review Committee.
Thank you. Is there a recommendation a motion to approve? Ms. Martinez-Lozano, second by Mr. Chavita. Any other discussion? All in favor? Unanimous, thank you.
Thank you.
10C, consideration of a proposal to direct administration to begin the renaming process of an existing elementary school, and myself presenting. Basically, the basis on this one here is, unfortunately, we all know that the bond did not pass back in May. That would have given us 2 new elementary schools that would have, at one point, would needed to have been named there. In the last couple of years, we have lost some individuals that have been Key to Education in Del Rio, there who served our district in different capacities, several different individuals there. So I wanted to see if there was interest in going in and beginning the process of renaming one of the local elementary schools there, which is laid out in policy. We have board policy on that. A committee would be formed if the board gives the yes to direct administration to do that. Committee would be formed. If there was any interest in it, ultimately that would be brought back to the board itself, and then the board would have the final decision, yes or no. We have several schools in the district that are named after individuals, whether they were individuals within the school district or community members, such as Dr. Lonnie Green or Irene Cardwell or Dr. Fermin Calderon. We have schools that are named after founders of the Republic of Texas, Lamar being the last active one that is still active. And then North Heights, which is named after a region of town that, if you do the history, that one goes back over 100 years, and that one was actually at one point called Hill School, as the town slowly developed that way. And then, of course, Buena Vista, out on the north side of town, Ruben Chavita Elementary, they're out on the southern portion of town. And then Garfield Elementary, which sits right here behind us. In trying to dig the history on Garfield, it was very hard to find anything on it as to why it was named Garfield. We know we have Garfield Street that runs in front of it. Was it named because of the assassination of President Garfield, or named because of the street on which it fronts? I don't know. I couldn't find anything there. But I would like to see the discussion or the thought of renaming Garfield Elementary. And they're going in and seeing what y'all have to say on that there. And if there is a consensus, then we'll direct administration or to begin that process. And if ultimately the community in large doesn't feel it needs to be changed, then it will be the community that makes that decision or that recommendation of the board. So, any thoughts on anything that I've laid out, Mr. Smith?
I think high level, I'd be open for discussion. Obviously, we wouldn't want to dishonor. I think you're cognizant of that in your proposal. So I see no reason based off of that to have the discussion, right? Yeah. I'd be open.
Yes, sir. And again, it's all discussion until it would come to the board for a final decision there. Are there any other comments or questions on that item there? Mr. Chavita?
Excuse me. On renaming the school, it's up to the committee to come up with a name.
Yes, sir. Yes, the policy states that the ultimately administration would be directed to begin the process, and then it's laid out in policy, and unfortunately I don't have it in front of me there, but a committee would be formed of the principal of that, I believe, principal of that elementary, community members whose children go to that school, so neighborhood individuals and some others. And I think the board also, I don't remember if board members can nominate someone to sit on the committee. And there, I should have re-looked at it before I stepped in.
So CW Local
Yes.
Allows the board, if the board wishes to move forward, to open it up for public nomination. So we would solicit nominations from the public, and then the board would then authorize the superintendent to form a committee to review. And then this committee would then study it and then bring that recommendation after getting all of the information from the public forward to the board for consideration and for appointment and vote.
Sorry,
Yes,
as I recall the policy, it does not specify how the committee will be formed. However, in every committee that we have formed, we've always asked for the board to recommend a representative, and that would not change. We would continue with that practice. I would have a discussion with you as a board president to see if you wanted each board member to nominate one or two community members. Obviously, the principal of the campus you select would sit on the committee, chair the committee, but it would be our recommendation to have board members recommend. You would direct me if it was one or two members at that point, and I'm sure you would visit with your board members to decide.
Any other? Yes, ma'am.
But this is to consider renaming Garfield,
Yes, ma'am.
not any other.
No, ma'am.
Okay.
This will be just Garfield at this time. Any other questions, comments, concerns? Will the board be fine with me making a recommendation to direct administration to begin the process? This is a recommendation of the school board? A recommendation of the school board to direct administration?
Recommendation, board president.
Okay. It's a recommendation of the board president to direct administration to begin the renaming process of Garfield Elementary School. Is there a motion to, first by Ms. Lozano, seconded by Ms. Haynes? I'll give it to Ms. Haynes. Any other discussion? All in favor? Unanimous. Thank you. 11, curriculum and instruction. Consideration to approve memorandum of understanding with Institute for Research and Reform in Education for curriculum and instructional support services to achieve the STEM 2025 alignment in the amount of $169,351 out of the general fund from CNI through August of 2019. Ms. Ida Gomez.
Good evening, Mr. Overfelt, Dr. Rios, and members of the board. This evening, administration will ask for your consideration to approve a memorandum of understanding with the Institute for Research and Reform in Education for curriculum instructional support services as we move forward with the STEM 2025 initiative. This would be a 2-year agreement with IRRE, and it would include the following: curriculum and instructional audit, ongoing remote and on-site professional learning with strategic consultant services, as well as a diagnostic review of math instruction using a visit protocol and reporting system. The team of two, Dr. Anissa Collins, and who is the Director of Instructional Supports, and Cynthia Moore-Hollenschid, Director of Instructional Leadership, would spend time in Del Rio visiting our classrooms, checking the planning protocol curriculum, looking at the documents, and of course helping us with the process. IRRE has developed a targeted timeline that would be followed, and it does include teacher action groups, the CNI department, and teachers from all grade levels from 1st through 8th grade. We would work on a curriculum and a backwards mapping process as part of the STEM 2025 initiative. We would focus on grades K-12 and the planning protocol dashboard documents. They would partner with us to ensure systems and supports are in place to sustain high-quality implementation of strong instructional processes as we move forward. The cost for year one is $76,666. That is coming out of the general CNI fund. However, we have received notice that the Rural Grant Committee has approved to pay for 25% because it does include 7th and 8th grade as our long-term goal. So therefore, it would be 25% coming out of the grant, the rest of it from our local funds for year one, and then we would go into year two with local funds. Are there any questions?
Questions from any member of the board? No, ma'am. Recommendation?
It is the recommendation of the administration that the Board of Trustees approve a contract with Institute for Research and Reform in Education for curriculum and instructional support services to achieve STEM 2025 alignment
in the amount of $169,351 through August of 2019.
Per the recommendation, is there a motion to accept? Mr. Smith, seconded by Ms. Lozano. Any other discussion? All in favor? Unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you.
B, consideration to approve a memorandum of understanding between San Felipe Del Rio CISD and Texas A&M University for English Language and Literacy Acquisition Validation, ELLA v. Ms. Cindy Salas.
Good evening, Dr. Rios, Mr. Overfelt, members of the board. The purpose of the MOU is to facilitate the cooperation between Texas A&M University and San Felipe Del Rio CISD to work collaboratively in planning and implementing the follow-up sustainability study from December 2017 to May 2018. Study includes a shortened 20-week intervention specifically for English language learners at 2 campuses, which would entail at Dr. Lonnie Green Elementary and Ruben Chavita. The Literacy Acquisition Validation Project has identified a pool of previous teachers that participated in the grade case study with high fidelity ratings, one actually qualifying as a mentor teacher. The study will include many of the same components as of last year from 2016-2017, which includes curriculum, material, 2 virtual classroom observations, monthly professional development for all participating teachers, and mentor feedback through a teacher observation record, and ongoing support from our lead sustainability coordinator. Treatment 1, as stated in your memo, will be at Dr. Lonnie Green Elementary, which includes 45 minutes of academic vocabulary incorporated into Science Teaks, which is entitled Let's Talk Science Lessons. Teachers will be paid a $1,000 stipend by Texas A&M University for treatment number 1. Mentor will receive $1,500 stipend. Treatment number 2, which will consist there and implemented at Ruben Chavita, which will be a 35-minute daily incorporated into their ELA session, which is storytelling, retelling, higher order thinking for English language learners, and literacy acquisition, incorporating into their reading block. A $1,000 stipend will be paid to teachers that participate by Texas A&M University in treatment number 2 school. At this time, if there's any questions, I'll be more than happy to answer.
Yes, ma'am, I have one.
Sure.
In our packet, it's page 154 in there, but the last page of the MOU, where the school district and A&M sign, subsection 2, term of the MOU. This MOU shall commence on September 1, 2017, and shall terminate June 30th, 2018. Recruitment efforts for the 2017-18 school year will begin in fall of 17. That is, so we're 3 months after the start date according to this MOU, and we're just getting ready to sign. So is this a misprint?
It's a correction on the MOU. Last year we approved the same grant. Unless I'm mistaken, correct me if I am, ma'am.
No,
we have not
you are
begun.
correct. It was a full year study last year, so this year it is only a 20-week intervention, and it's only for 1 semester, so it has not begun. Their goal was to begin in December 2017.
So we can correct the effective date.
Okay, so
yes, sir.
Before it signs and becomes a legal document. Okay. Any other questions? Mr. Mesa?
Just one other. I saw in parentheses that Texas A&M is paying for the mentor and
Yes.
the training.
You are correct. So those that participate, they will receive a $1,000 stipend. We do have one teacher that was selected as a mentor based on high percentage of fidelity last year in implementation of the program, and she will receive $1,500.
So are we limiting the number of teachers that can participate?
No, sir. Their study is targeting kinder students at our academies, and they selected 2 academies, and these are specifically for beginners and intermediate. So we do have 3 at Lonnie Green Elementary and 2 at Ruben Chavita.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Recommendation.
It is the recommendation of the administration that the Board of Trustees approves the memorandum of understanding with Texas A&M University as presented and allow Dr. Rios to sign the agreement.
Thank you. We've heard the recommendation, and I motion to approve pending the correction on the MOU as discussed earlier. Is there a second, Mr. Mesa? Any other discussion? All in favor? Unanimous carries. Thank you. Excuse me. 11C, consideration to approve the 2017-18 amended dual credit partnership agreement between Southwest Texas Junior College and San Felipe Del Rio CISD. Dr. Garza.
Good evening, Mr. Overfeld, Dr. Rios, and members of the board. We have an existing MOU with Southwest Texas Junior College, but we want to amend it. We are already working with them in transferring grades from their college to the high school, and the reason we want to make sure that they're numerical is because of our GPA. What was happening before, they would send us an A, and it was an A would be from 90 to 100. So our GPA has changed. If they get a 95, it's going to be a 5.6. So that's the reason we want to make sure that the teachers, the professors from Southwest Texas Junior College, at the end of the semester, they give us their roster with the numerical grade. They've already been doing this. We just want to make sure that we put it in our MOU. I have talked to Dr. Underwood about this, and he is in agreement that we can put it in our MOU. Are there any questions?
I got a couple.
Yes, sir.
So this is just this amendment is just a formality, or it's actually going to impact the kids?
No, sir. It's not going to impact the students at all. It's just a formality. The grades are already there. We did it this past summer. The students that took courses at the actual campus at Southwest Texas Junior College, we got their rosters, their grade book, and we just identified the numerical grade, and we input it into our GPA. So it's not going to affect them at all. One more point to that. The reason we're coming to this is because early college high school is actually taking courses across the street. A lot more students are taking courses across the street. So that's why we're bringing it up.
I know that because I do some dual credit online stuff with Uvalde or with Rock Springs, Lakey, stuff like that. So at the end of the semester, last week, I had to take their their letter A, B, C, D, and give them a 95 point whatever. So they have on the college transcript it shows A, B, C, D, but at the high school it shows they got a 95.3. So that's what everyone's going to have to do who teaches anything for SFDR.
Okay, so no harm, no foul to the student.
No, sir.
Just a clarification.
So this will be in effect retrospectively for any grades that will be turned in at the end of this semester?
Yes, ma'am.
Well, we already did it even for the summer. And really, there's already an understanding with the junior college. We're simply amending the MOU so that going forward, it's formalized and whoever's taking care of the process, whether it's personnel at the junior college or a counselor at the high school, there's no misunderstanding that that's something that has to happen. But it's really already been happening. The courses that were taken over the summer, they handed over a numerical grade, and going forward, they've agreed to do it. This is simply to make sure that it continues regardless of who's at the helm.
You know, I think it's a great idea, but I definitely would like to see that this is an amendment.
Yes, ma'am.
I see that, you know, where you highlighted it, that you added it, but it also already has Dr. Rios's signature from July. So just to make sure that it is an amendment with this date.
Yes.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Recommendation?
It is the recommendation of administration that the Board of Trustees approve the amended dual credit partnership agreement with Southwest Texas Junior College as presented and allow Dr. Rios to sign the agreement and pay the invoice when due.
Further recommendation, is there a motion to accept? Mr. Chavita, seconded by myself. Any other discussion? All in favor? Unanimous, thank you.
Thank you.
D, consideration to approve client service agreement with Hanover Research for coding, analysis, and final report from the special education think tank meetings in the amount of $7,500 through June 11, 2018. Ms. Ida Gomez.
Good evening, Mr. Overfelt, Dr. Rios, and members of the board. Yes, tonight we will be asking for consideration to approve the client service agreement with Hanover Research for coding and analysis and a final report. This would be as part of our special ed think tank. Those meetings started back in September. We have met with parents, both elementary, secondary, administrators, diagnosticians, and through those meetings they have provided us with not only their concerns but possible suggestions. Hanover Research K-12 educational practices collaborate with 325 local school districts. They work with educational agencies, independent schools, state educational agencies, and educational service providers across the United States. They did a very thorough analysis of our bilingual program. We were able to give them not only the think tank information, but they looked at all our data and used a third-party approach to analyze it and set us on the right path as to what we should continue doing with our practices. It would be the same concept here. It would be a 6-month contract. We would give them all the data that we have received from those parties along with our academic data and then see what results they would analyze and provide a report to us as we move forward with our special ed think tank and, of course, the practices for instruction that we've been discussing. Are there any questions that I can answer?
Questions or comments? Recommendation, please.
It is the recommendation of the administration that the Board of Trustees approves for the superintendent to sign the client service agreement with Hanover Research in the amount of $7,500.
Further recommendation, is there a motion to accept? Mr. Smith, seconded by Ms. Martinez-Lozano. Any other discussion? All in favor? Mr. Smith? Okay. Unanimous. Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
12, technology operations.
Sorry, Mr. Overfeld.
Yes.
We have an agreement with the principals that after the curriculum items, they can be excused to prepare for the next day. So
Okay.
at this time, don't feel you're being disrespectful if you get up and leave.
Christmas is almost here. 12, technology and operations. A, I've had a request from administration to table until the next board meeting or at some other due point.
Yeah, until we have all the data from the analysis that's being done by Schneider Electric right now. It could
Okay.
be 2 months, it could be never again.
Okay.
Yes, I did.
So, a motion to table 12A until further point in time when administration decides to bring it back or not at all. Is there a second? Mr. Smith, all in favor? Unanimous. 12A is tabled. B, consideration to approve the commitment of fund balance and budget amendment of the general fund in the amount of $420,000 for restroom renovation of Del Rio High School and contract over $5,000 to Jorge Pena Architects in the amount of $20,000 for schematic design. Mr. Henge and Mr. Alsop presenting.
Good evening again, President Overfeld, Dr. Rios, members of the board. This architectural agreement that we're asking permission for approval on tonight is with Jorge Pina Architects in the amount of $20,000. It will include schematic design for the demolition of the fixtures, partitions, both the walls and floor tiles, light fixtures, and all accessories to reduce or redesign the layout of the restrooms at Del Rio High School. From the approval of general fund balance of $400,000 to function 81, facilities acquisition and construction. The restrooms that we are looking to make these changes to would be the men's and women's restrooms adjacent and behind the library, men's and women's restrooms at the 1,000 wing, possibly expanding into room 1,002. Men's and women's restrooms above cafeteria across the hallway from administrative offices, men's and women's restrooms at the 800 wing.
Questions, Mr. Smith?
So overall, your project objective timeline, can you give a high-level view of that? You want to do architectural work between now and such?
The timeline we will have ironed out here, I would say, within the next board meeting or two. We've already been in communication with the architect on this. That's how we were able to get some preliminary numbers on what the budget would look like for the project. So that is something that I can get soon, but at this point with holidays and other projects he's working on, we're kind of in limbo at this point and can't move forward.
Fair enough. But where I'm getting to is obviously you want to try to eliminate that construction time or limit the construction time to something that's out of the ordinary classroom time. So that would mean those months of the summer. And is that feasible to do that big of a project in one summer?
Well, I think what we'd be looking at doing at this point is once we got the approval, we move forward on the project, then we would look for those opportunities when it would not impact, with the students being within school. A lot of those restrooms, I don't see them being extended months to get done. Some of them should move pretty fast, and other ones we do have some concerns that there will be some delay. But it would not be in the intent to do it during regular school hours without,
Yeah, I guess the question is that you're proposing that the project will take $420,000 total, with $20,000 upfront architectural cost. And would all of those $420,000 be spent this year, or you think that would be spread out based on available construction time through multiple years?
The intent right now would to get this done as quickly as possible because of the condition that they are currently in.
I agree, yeah, that they are in poor condition.
The $20,000 fee would just take care of being able to get those drawings together, see what we're looking at, get everything within budget, and then initiate the project itself.
Mr. Smith, there's two bathrooms, the ones in the 1,000 wing, the 900 wing, that absolutely have to be done in the summer because they're in very close proximity to classrooms. The other two bathrooms, the one behind the library and the one in the cafeteria, we can schedule those for construction now because there are other restrooms within that proximity that they could go to. However, we expect to have the first bathroom, which is the one behind the library, done as soon as possible. It will not affect the operations of the campus. As soon as they finish that one, they can begin the second one. But the one in the 1,000 wing and the one in the 900 wing, those absolutely have to be done in the summer. And our goal is to have these done by the end of June, probably going a little bit into July, but no later than that.
Okay.
Any other questions? Recommendation?
It is the recommendation of the administration that the Board of Trustees approves the modification of the 2017-18 general fund balance commitments and budget amendments for restroom renovation of Del Rio High School and contract over $5,000 to Jorge Pina Architects in the amount of $20,000 for schematic design.
Further recommendation, is there a motion to accept? Mr. Trevita, seconded by Ms. Martinez-Susano. All in favor? Unanimous, thank you.
Thank you.
Nothing under Business and Finance. 14, Human Resources. A, consideration to approve modifications of the 2017-2018 General Fund balance commitments. Ms. Aide Garcia and Ms. Valdez. Go ahead.
Good evening again, President Overfelt, Dr. Rios, board members. Again, included in the memo and based on the prior discussion when we talked about the health insurance update, there's two policies that we are presenting for recommendation for approval. Of course, on the committed funds, when we approved them back in August, the title of the committed funds said return to work stipend. So what we're asking here is to update that now to say health insurance contribution. So that would be to update the language on the committed funds to reflect health insurance contribution from return to work stipend. We're not recommending to change the amount. And then on CRD legal would be that the board determine the district's contribution to the employee health insurance premiums, which as presented earlier would be the increase that was discussed by modifying the $156 over from employee to employer. Any questions?
Questions on what we're updating? Recommendation?
It is the recommendation of the administration that the Board of Trustees approve the modification to the general fund balance commitments to read health insurance contribution and the district's monthly contribution per employee from January 1st, 2018 to August 31st, 2018 will be $596.84. This includes the current budget, the current recurring budget of $439.95 per employee per month, plus the committed funds contribution of $156.89.
Further recommendation, I so move. Is there a second? Ms. Haynes. Any other discussion? All in favor? Unanimous, thank you.
Thank you. And Mr. Overfeld?
Yes.
For the next item, I'd like to recommend for it to be item C because item B includes the information from item C. So if we could just change the agenda items.
So what we will do is we will go to C because administration is asking to consider to approve that first because it will have a direct result on B, the compensation plan. Everybody good with that? Okay. Item C, consideration to approve employee job descriptions and evaluation forms for specialist academic achievement. Ms. Garcia.
Yes, sir. Mr. Overfelt, Dr. Rios, members of the board, we are here to request approval for a new job description and evaluation, and this is for the academic achievement specialist. This is under a Title V grant as far as the funding, and it's going to service the non-bilingual academies. And we have Ms. Gomez here if you have any specific questions about the role for this position.
Any questions by any board member? Mr. Mesa?
Mrs. Gomez, will this position be advertised?
Yes, sir. It would be posted under this job description.
Okay.
Any other questions? Yes, sir.
Maybe I missed something. What you said it was for non-bilingual academy?
Yes, sir. As we've been reporting for the last few months, our bilingual academies have had intensive training. We see the results. Our non-academies have the students who leave the academies after they exit out of the program for beginner, intermediate, and continue on with advanced and advanced high. We need specialized training and focus on those campuses because that's where our students are returning. So in an effort to maintain the academic success of these students, this particular grant specifically talks about helping campuses in rural areas to improve instruction. When we met with the 3 principals from those campuses and asked them how could we best assist you, their response was, we need a focused person, somebody that's just working with us to equalize all the training and support that has been given to the 4 academies, so that when we receive the students, we're trained, we're prepared.
Thank you for the clarity.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
One other question, which I'm trying to figure out, they're supposed to be helping with lesson plans, discipline, and mentoring. It says 50% of the day.
The position would be focused for the 3 campuses, assisting with trainings, assisting with lesson plans, assisting with bringing in the QTEL strategies, assisting with the ABIDOs, anything that has been a focus at the bilingual academies would in turn be worked at those 3 campuses. And honestly, the only reason I hesitated, sir, was because I really thought it was for even more. It's 4 days out of the week, so I'm thinking it's 80% of the time.
Sorry, Mr. Mesa, discipline, if discipline is on there, it was a clear typo. They will not do any discipline. There's no need for that. Can I see that?
Well, I can understand like classroom management. I think that would help with discipline, but
Yes, management.
I would not think that it's sending notices for parents or whatever, but setting up a classroom. I guess the classroom management part of it, organized classroom. But I guess what I'm having trouble with is lesson planning 50% of the time, 50% of the day.
No, it's included, sir, in part of the job description. This role is going to be a very important role, and when it was written, when we looked at other academic specialists across the area, these were the types of job descriptions that were embedded into that. So if you look at it, Mr. Mesa, it does say assist classroom teachers with various instructional models, classroom management, lesson plan development, for 50% of the day, meaning that they will be working with teachers when they are on campus. They're not just there to handle any other type of administrative work. They are working with teachers while they are at the campuses.
I guess my other question is, at some point during this school year, we had information that we had 80 brand new teachers without experience. Is that correct?
Yes, that's about right. Yes, sir. We have about 75 in our mentoring program.
Okay. That's all.
Yes.
Any other questions? Yes, ma'am.
I do have one. How are they going to share this one person, the different campuses? They're going to tear that person apart.
Yes. One of the roles is to identify teachers who are in need. That's the first part. So we have met with principals and already identified those teachers. Second, content or curriculum. For instance, if it's an entire second grade struggling with math, that would be another area of focus. So even though it is for 3 campuses, it may not be for 100% of the staff on a one-to-one.
Thank you.
And if I might say, the grant was for $76,000, so it wasn't like we could have hired more than one.
And is that Title V grant just 1 year or per year?
It's a brand new grant. We're anticipating that it will be per year. But at this time, it's a 1 year.
This position might go away, those monies go away?
There would be we don't anticipate that the money will go away because it's a federal entitlement. However, as we have analyzed the data, there is a need, and the district will commit to funding that. At least the administration will commit to making that recommendation that we funded it in the absence of grant money.
Recommendation?
It is the recommendation of the administration that the Board of Trustees approve the employee job description and evaluation for the academic achievement specialist.
Further recommendation, is there a motion to accept?
So moved.
Mr. Chavita, second by Ms. Martinez-Lozano. Any other discussion? All in favor? Unanimous, thank you. Which brings us back to B, consideration to approve the updated compensation plan. Ms. Garcia.
Yes, sir. On this agenda item, we are only including the administrative specialist position, and that is a pay grade 4. So we went ahead and add that position to the administrative pay plan. And on the one that we did earlier, it was the return to work stipend, and we put that one on your desk there.
Any questions? Recommendation?
It is the recommendation of the administration that the Board of Trustees approve the compensation plan as discussed.
For the recommendation, is there a motion to accept? Ms. Martinez-Lozano, seconded by Mr. Chavita. Any other discussion? All in favor? Unanimous, thank you. It is now 8:37 p.m., December 18th, 2017. And if during the course of any duly posted meeting, the Board of Trustees determined that a closed or executive session is required regarding any item posted on the agenda, that session will be held on any or all subjects and purposes permitted under section 551.071.072, .073, .074, 076, 082, 084, 087 of the Government Code, Texas Open Meetings Act. If a final vote is required on any matter considered in the closed or executive session, it shall be taken either upon the reconvening of the public session covered by this notice or a subsequent and duly posted public meeting as the board shall determine. Tonight, pursuant to 551.071, consultation with attorney, 551.082, school children, school district employees, disciplinary matter or complaint, 551.084, investigation and exclusion of witness from hearing. Specifically, 1, level 3 hearing, Twana Biladu; 2, level 3 hearing, Patricia Ann Martinez; 3, pursuant to 551.074, discussion of personnel or hear complaints against personnel, and 551.071, private consultation with the board's attorney. A, discussion of personnel report to include the following: new hires, district vacancies, retirements, resignations, and reassignments. B, discussion of salary adjustments to include but not limited to the following justifications of service credit and salary matrix adjustment. And C, agreed amendment to provision 3.9 of superintendent's contract, not increasing or reducing compensation. All votes will be taken in open session. It is now 8:39 p.m. and the board is in closed session. It is now 11:16 p.m., December 18th, 2017. This board will reconvene into open session. No action was taken. 17A, Level 3 hearing, Twana Biladu. Do I hear a recommendation? I'll ask again, do I hear a recommendation? There's no recommendation. B, Level 3 hearing, Patricia Ann Martinez. Do I hear a recommendation? Ms. Lozano?
Yes, I'd like to make a recommendation, move to uphold the level 1 decision.
There's a motion to uphold the Level 1 decision. Is there a second? Mr. Chavita, is there any discussion? I have to take the motion and take a vote on the motion.
Okay, go ahead, I'm sorry.
We have a first and a second. All in favor of the motion? 1, 2, 3, 4 in favor. Against? 1, 2, 3 against. Passes 4-3. C, consideration of agreed amendment to Provision 3.9 of Superintendent's Contract, not increasing or reducing compensation, as discussed in closed session. I make a motion. Is there a second? Second by Ms. Martinez-Lozano. Any other discussion? All in favor? 5 in favor, against? 2 against, passes. D, consideration to approve the personnel report to include the following new hires, district vacancies, retirements, and resignations. Ms. Garcia?
Mr. Overfelt, Dr. Rios, member of the board, it is the recommendation of the administration that the Board of Trustees approve the resignation discussed in closed session pursuant to Texas Government Code Section 551.074 and the following new hires. Norma Limon, teacher for Ruben Chavira Elementary. Cynthia Garcia, 4th grade teacher for Ruben Chavira Elementary. Adrian Ochoa, 4th grade teacher for North Heights Elementary.
Further recommendation, is there a motion to accept? Ms. Haynes, seconded by Mr. Smith. All in favor? Unanimous, carries. E, consideration to approve salary adjustments. There are none this evening. 18, Superintendent's Report, January 22nd for possible board meeting. Dr. Rios?
Yes, sir. Mr. Board President, members of the board, in a previous board update, we discussed moving the January board meeting to January 22nd. If we kept it as currently scheduled, it would only give administration 1 week to prepare for the board meeting because we would be coming back from the holidays. In essence, it would force us to cut the vacation short of a lot of the people in Ms. Valdez's department. Therefore, we're asking, or we're informing the board that we will schedule it accordingly. And we have asked the board if they can commit to this day, and the indication that we received was yes. We're just formally making that announcement, really, unless there's a different direction from the board.
I don't think there is. Everybody's fine with the 22nd, correct? Okay. So January 22nd, 2018 is when this board will reconvene for the regular school board meeting of the new year. Being no further business before this board, is there a motion to adjourn? Mr. Chavita, seconded by Mr. Smith. All in favor? Unanimous, carriers adjourned at 11:20 p.m. December 18th, 2017. You'll have a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.